Welcome to Hellas Footy Podcast, episode 15. I'm your host, George. Let's get started. Greg, how are you, man?
Good, George. It's that time of the year.
Beautiful time of year. I don't know what you're talking about, but...
It's the time of the year where the ethnic ear either does something magic or blows everything up.
Yeah, well, for the last decade, it's just disappointed us.
That's
But
right.
anyway, well, I digress. We'll keep going. Steve, how are you, man?
Well, George, as you may hear, I'm losing my voice. I'm a bit sleep deprived, but thankfully the international break was mercifully short for me because I've seen 4 games and none of them were wins. So.
Yes, I know. The joys of being a Cypriot following your national team. Anyway.
We're not getting into that.
We won't. We'll let the Cypriot footy pod deal with that one, if there is one. Nico, how are you?
Yeah, I'm with Stephen. I'm glad this is the last international break for the calendar year, and I'm so glad it's done.
Yep. And last but not least, Michael.
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings, George. Thankfully, the international break is over, but club football for me is still going. We had our first match in the Super League 2. We beat Apollo Larissa 2-0.
Yes.
So we're off to a good start.
That's it. Very good. So, Super League 2 did play through the international round. We'll discuss that obviously a little bit further with all the shenanigans happening within the EPO as well. Today's episode is mostly going to be ethnic Omada stuff. So without further ado, I guess let's get started. 1-0 Spain. Penalty was a difference. I don't even know what to say. Defensive line, Tsimikas centre back. Greg, just take it, mate. How did you see this one from the lineup moving on early on into the game, and then moving on into the penalty?
I was concerned about the lineup because we've seen the usual stuff happen with it's like a 5-3-2, and we know the Tsimikas Giannoulis combo hasn't set the world on fire. Mandalos has been in ordinary form. Look, it was the usual. We started off looking like we had some intent in the first maybe 10 minutes, and then after that, it was just chasing Spain all game. We had that opportunity with Masuras, which would have been a fantastic goal, but was unfortunately offside. The only thing that I find just crazy about this game is the penalty that Spain was actually given. Like, I don't know what was going through the Polish referee's mind there, and many people to this day still don't know why that was a penalty. I think a potential push Giannoulis did, but there was nothing in it.
Yeah, but look, it went to VAR, and even the commentators were a bit perplexed by it. Nico, how do you like?
Let's be honest, VAR didn't even check that. Honestly,
I don't think they did.
Came up on the screen that they were checking it, but there is no way they checked that, because if they did, they would have made the correct decision and overturned it.
Well, because there was a push before, there was a foul before
it. If anything, it's a foul. It's a free kick to us.
Yeah, there was a foul before that, so that was the one that I couldn't understand. To be quite honest, there, but I mean, if you're nickel,
if you're down, you're down. Your luck's down and out.
I mean,
if you just rewind that just before though, it's that guy again that I told you last month, Masuras. He just can't. If he can't finish, he'll be offside. It's either the finishing or the offside. It's one or another.
That killed. Yeah, look.
I wanted offside. He's always offside, or he's not finishing.
It's hard sometimes, though, Nick. It's not easy to get these things run. Besides that run and that opportunity, we did nothing else really. So.
If we made that count, it's a different game. Honestly,
of course,
as bad as we were,
yeah, no.
But as bad as that was, John Van Schip subbing Zolis and Dovikas for Masuras and Pavlidis at half time for me was just was quite a bit of a bonehead move, because I don't know what exactly that did. For me, I know we've got some different opinions in the group about Masuras, but for me, Masuras is without him we hardly create, because he makes a lot of good runs. Yes, he gets caught offside sometimes, but a lot of our chances created come through his runs. And, we were slightly better in the second half. But for me, I described it as a spineless performance, like our first game against Spain, even though we got that lucky penalty and drew 1-0. It was a game we needed to win, and we just chased Spanish players all game. They read our game perfectly. Their coach did their homework on us. Press us as soon as we get the ball, and we don't know what to do with it. We don't have got the control or the class of player, and our formation landed into the Spanish lap, and it was painful.
We'll go back, because you've touched a lot here, Greg. So For Masuras, I agree with Greg here. I think he's one of the key players for the Ethnic Omada, and without him, we don't get a lot of movement happening forward. I mean, we don't get it as it is. I'm a bit on the fence here with Greg, though, because he started his run in our half, started moving for the ball, and the Spaniards just held their line, and then they kind of let him go past that. Now, he's got a lot of pace. He should know better, I think, because he would have burnt them anyway. And now it's, there wasn't any chances, so maybe he got like white line fever there. But I think he could do better, and he should have done better in that situation. And I think when if he watches that again, he'll know that he had the opportunity to be able to take just a step back, or just take that one step slower before he moved off, because he was gone. Let's face it. Once he's off, he had them backpedaling anyway. So I was a little bit disappointed in that run, but I mean, yeah, overall, I think he's one of our key players. Stephen, take that away. How did you see the first half in general?
It was very similar to the game away from home.
Yeah.
Whereby it just didn't feel like we could string more than two passes together, and the Spanish just kind of played us all over the park, and obviously the ensuing penalty happened. And I think going back to the Masuras chance, I think I think we highlight it so much so because that was one of the only big chances of the game. And then if your team can't even consistently create mediocre chances, let alone good chances consistently, then that's going to be the key chance that will always stick out.
Well, it highlights it, yeah, because that was the only chance we had. So we have to highlight that one chance, unfortunately.
If we were creating like that kind of chance like 3-4 times a game, then it wouldn't come out. Obviously, it's still a big miss, but it's not as if we're creating any more chances after that opportunity.
That's right, yeah. Michael, you're doing the live tweets as well for us on Hellas Footy as well. So how are you watching that game and then thinking you can put the words together to put the tweets out? I guess because it's hard, because you got to be bipartisan and just put factual tweets out, for what happens in there. So how did you cop that first half? The first half.
Man, it's really painful for everyone else, but when you're live tweeting, it's more painful.
Yeah.
And
I second that.
I'll start off with the lineup. It was just disaster from the beginning. The attack from Masuras and Pavlidis up front. I think this game, especially in the first half, they showed no chemistry. They were clearly showing frustrations towards each other. Showing, oh, you should have passed there. Oh, you should have passed there. No, you shouldn't have passed it. Yeah, there was no chemistry between them, but apart from that, it was barely any attacking intent. I think Greg said it was just the first 10 minutes, and after that, we just sat back the entire game chasing Spain. Yeah. And for the second half, look, okay, JVS made the substitutions, he went all out. But still, the tactics remained. The game plan didn't change. But I don't think there was any adjustments.
That's the thing.
That was frustrating. And we did 2 shots the entire second half, but still not enough. I expected more. Really, I did. And if anyone's saying this is all we could give, okay, with that lineup, yes. But I believe we could have shown more if we had the right game plan, if we had the right formation and the right lineup. I don't think that was the right from the get-go. So it was disaster from the beginning.
And going back here as well to Greg.
We predicted it last week.
Well, we did.
George, you said it as well. They're going to set up defensively just to keep it close.
Yeah. It's sad, isn't it? And that's I don't understand. I mean, Greg touched on it earlier, and we'll go back to Greg here. What's the thought process by doing a double substitution at half time? Greg, I mean,
I don't know.
If you're wearing JVS's shoes, how do you justify that double substitution?
It's actually I was looking back on some previous games, and he seems to do this quite regularly. He takes off a striker for a striker at half time. So we constantly got strikers playing just 45 minutes. But Pavlidis, I can see, for me, I've been really disappointed with Pavlidis the last probably 6 months. His play for us has been, I think, really, really poor. He's not offering much. His hold-up play is very poor. which is why I was surprised he was starting. His distribution is terrible as well, and he keeps going for the high percentage stuff. The low percentages that lead to turnovers all the time. So I can kind of see why. Duvica should have started instead of him from the word. But doing it for using two subs to put Zolis and Duvikas on, who again both I think should have been in our formation that started them from the start. But it's a nothing change. You're not changing anything. You're not going to change your service from Mandalos, Bukhalakis, and Shopis, and Yanulis and Andrutsus are going to be the same on the wings. So it was almost a waste of two subs. Well, Duvikas have a Pavlidis, I can see the only reason why.
Because Nico, and again, we're chasing shadows all 45 minutes, so you're not making the substitutions that are going to allow us to change things around and maybe try to grab a little bit of ascendancy there. Now, the subs were wrong. Yeah, the formation I think was wrong to begin with, and it shows. If you're Spain, for instance, and you see.
But they knew they had the game won at 1-0. They knew they could play the rest of the game at 50-60%.
Exactly. And that's exactly what they did, because they were just. I think at the end the passing was like 600 and something to 150. Yeah. Now I don't.
You know what? That's the midfield.
Those stats shoot me as well. Like they shoot me. They don't mean anything.
They don't mean much, but it just shows.
In this game, it did.
Yeah, the midfield's bad.
Yeah, in this game it did. We were just giving the ball away.
What I give to see Alexandropoulos start.
Well,
over the two games, unbelievable.
Yeah. I'll chime in here because last week I said I wanted Mandalos to perform. Has anyone been able to spot him in that game? I'm just wondering.
I spotted him. I
didn't see him at all.
Every time we won a corner, it took about 5 minutes to walk to the corner to take it.
Well, so when the camera was focused on him specifically, he
had no business in that starting side.
Now,
he had the captain's armband.
You know what? I think he did have business in that starting lineup, because for me, we were so poor in that position. It's either Mandalos or Pelkas, really.
I would have gone Pelkas.
Naturally, you would have gone Mandalos, but at the end of the day, he was terribly disappointing in this and the course of the game.
I would have gone Pelkas. I think we said it last week, and he popped up in the second game which we'll get on later with a great assist.
Well, let's move on to the second game, because nothing really happened in the second half. And like you said, Nico, as soon as that penalty went in, that was it. The game was effectively over for us.
It's a coward way to lose.
It was a very coward way to lose, and I think that's what we said at the end, because the formation, if you're Spain, you look at that formation like, okay, they're hoping that they don't cop 3-4 goals here, and they're going to hit us on a counter, which we nearly did if Masouras wasn't offside. Other than that, they knew they had our measure. So for them at the end, 1-0 win. The stats of that game, pardon me, Spain had 3 shots on target, 4 off target, 4 block shots. We had 1 on target, 1 off target, 1 block shot. 49, I don't even know what they are. Possession was 69-31, so kind of little bit came up our way. But the rest, the stats, again, stats, what do they mean? If you watch the game, it was a very cowardly performance, and it was a very cowardly way to set up a team, to knowing that you've got this slight opportunity, very tiny opportunity to do something, and you set it up to not cop goals. Makes no sense. If we're leading the group or coming second in the group, you'd understand that lineup, and knowing that we control our destiny. But when we don't control our destiny, that's. Sorry, Greg.
I think this approach has been a huge downfall. Going constantly with a 3 at the back, we've dropped what used to work so well for us in actually playing wingers on the sides, and having, which meant be Mandalos or Bakasetas or even Pelkas, you could usually distribute quite well into space. But this whole approach of the 5-3-2 with Andrutsos on the right, and Yanulis or Tsimikas on the left. Now Tsimikas is the one guy who's been able to deliver when he has played on the left. But besides him, for the most part, you've pretty much got 2 strikers who are deprived of any service. Andrutsos hasn't been able to deliver on the right, and there's been a few times when he's had some decent opportunities and he's made a bit of a meal of it. But this has been a huge downfall, this approach and this formation that JVS has been going for. He's been going with this since the Kosovo away game. And for me, it's produced 75 minutes of football in all these games.
Yeah. Now, did you think we'd learnt a lesson? Because we move across to the Kosovo match, which was a 1-1 draw. And essentially, we still went with 3 central defenders. Now, the formation was a slight variation to what we did, but it still didn't. I mean, what did it achieve, that formation? I mean, we'll continue on, Greg. Now, looking at that, when you're going into the match, thinking it's a dead rubber, there's an opportunity here for us to try to get something out of this and just finish on a high. Yet again, he sets up the formation in a negative, in my opinion, with 3 central defenders against Kosovo. I mean, what are we trying to achieve here, Greg?
Oh, that's something I think only JVS can really answer. It was, it's the same old stuff. And in the Kosovo game, we saw in the first 10 minutes where we looked like we were in complete control and we were going to potentially get an early goal. But, of course, we muff all our chances and we don't take advantage of that domination. And then it becomes an arm wrestle. We still had plenty of chances, but then there's our other Achilles heel is we can't finish. So,
I mean, that was an issue in that against Kosovo, yeah. And Nick was talking about it as well. When we got 1-0 up, we had enough opportunities to make it 2-0, and we just couldn't get it.
I thought we were. Honestly, at half-time, I thought we're going to get a second and kill it off.
Well, it should have been. I mean, we had enough opportunities, some nice deliveries in the box, some nice opportunities, but we just couldn't get them.
Tsimikas had a blinder.
Again, yeah.
But why would you? Obviously, the tactic here was to go wide and hurt them from the wide areas. Why would your most dangerous weapon, Tsimikas, persist with him at centre back?
Well, that was in the preview,
In the preview. Not only in the preview.
Exactly.
Why, and this is the thing. Why would you waste Tsimikas' offensive abilities against Spain, but then you start him against Kosovo in a dead rubber? That's what I can't make sense of.
Nothing makes sense.
If you look at this lineup that we had against Kosovo, sorry guys, I would have preferred this lineup against Spain. Because at least it showed a little bit more intent.
Yeah,
I would definitely prefer
understand that, George.
Backs.
I understand that, George, but the midfield of Bukhalakis Mandalos is just painful.
Yeah, but I mean, we're going to cop that, and that's the thing. It's not like he's got 5 players and he's going to, for me, when you look at Bukhalakis, Mandalos, Bakasetas, there's just that rotation of them 3, and it just depends on who's going to start. And very rarely will you see someone else start.
What's Alexandropoulos got to do? Honestly, what's he got to do?
Nothing. He can't do anything because no matter what he does, he's not going to get a start. Not even going to get 5 minutes.
But that's also a huge. One of the biggest things I couldn't understand was, so we had Bukhalakis and Mandalos chasing Spanish players for 90 minutes. These guys were completely gassed in the second half against Kosovo. Mandalos was making ridiculous mistakes, which everyone saw. Bukhalakis was hamstrung. And yet we've got these guys playing 90 minutes and Alexandropoulos on the bench watching on. Yeah. That's just crazy. Even if it is young, this guy would have offered some. He's fresh. He hasn't played a minute with the Ethniki, and you got 2 guys dead on their feet, and you're just keeping them on there to make mistakes.
I mean, you should. And Mitoglu as well. Get him on.
Yeah.
Get these guys on.
Yeah.
Get them on. Like Vrusai, and Androutsos, it really kills me because. If you remember early on in the campaign when JVS got the job, everyone was like, oh, he's very anti-Olympiacos. And I thought that was a big malaki to begin with. But now it's almost like, are you just playing these 2 guys for the sake of playing them? Because Androutsos, he had a few games last season as a right back and played well. And everyone thought, okay, maybe that's his new position. But essentially, he's gone back to being a bench player. Now he's coming on playing 10 minutes in the midfield. Vrusai doesn't even get any game time at Olympiacos, or very rarely does he get it. I mean, Stephen, help me out here as an Olympiacos fan. What can we like? What's going on here with these 2 guys?
I wish I could say. I mean, Androutsos, it's probably the more obvious of the 2 because we don't have a right back at the level that should be starting. I mean, obviously we had Saliagas, who's another player who wasn't even even used in the game. And if you wanted to change something up in that position, you play Saliagas, even if he's a bit of an unknown entity.
He's a good player. He's a very good player.
He's getting minutes as well. So
exactly, he's playing more consistently for Bas than Androutsos is for Olympiacos. And then Brusa is a different one because he's Olympiacos. His minutes are so inconsistent. He'll come on as a substitute some games. He'll contribute. Then you won't see him for like 4 games or so. Then he'll come back on again, and vice versa. And then for Ethniki, like he gets the call up, but then he doesn't really get played then as well consistently. So,
but he's one of the he's more of a chance. The thing, going back to what Nico was saying, Vrusai will get onto the field 100% more than Alexandropoulos, and you got one young guy that's absolutely smashing it at his club that deserves an opportunity, and another guy with just as much potential. And I know they're not the similar players, but that isn't getting as much game time, getting very minutes. I don't think he's even played 90 minutes all season. And he's coming on, and like he only came off for the 10 minutes, but it just again.
Well, that's down to the manager not making the changes in the necessary positions that need a rotation, as we've already expressed. Bouralakis and Mandalos ended up playing 90 minutes in a row, whereas Belgas, who didn't play the last game, he got substituted. Yeah. So what sense does that make?
Do you remember the first game, gentlemen? Siopis against Spain when he came on and he had a blinder. Yes. And then instead of resting him, he played him in the friendly, and then he ended up just benching him for the other game. And I was just like, what are you doing, man? Like, how do you explain this to the players, let alone to us fans? Because
we brought that up before the games happened, saying surely this is not going to happen.
Do you remember we spoke about it? We're like, I hope we saw what he can do against Spain, and he was really good, and he was breaking down play and moving all the play, and he was all this energetic. And then I don't even know who the friendly was against.
Honduras,
yeah. And then we go into the qualifiers, and he sits him on the bench again, and he's just like, they're head scratches, guys. Now, I tweeted about this and I laughed about it for myself, but we went for the game after they conceded, and we went progressively. We looked worse, which begs the question. Anyone can answer this. Do we have a plan B?
Nope.
It seems to be a plan B.
Even the plan A needs to be.
Well, there's no plan. No, the plan A is don't concede.
Let's talk about that. Actually, the plan A, the don't concede part. That goal we did concede. Do you think the Greek teams of old would have conceded that? Absolutely not.
Did you see how they all stood there with their hand up?
Absolutely not.
When that went in, because the camera angle that I was watching was on TV, I thought, for sure he's offside, because every single player just stood up like blasé, just with a hand up, offside. And even when he scored the goal, he kind of just looked, whatever. And I'm like, for sure that's offside. And then
they heard us last time they played us. It was just a ball in a ball in the box, aimless ball in the box, and it was uncertainty, and they pounced. And just before they scored against us in this one, they hit the post off the head of the same guy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
In the first game, and they smelled blood and they went for it. And it came from a set piece. We couldn't clear the set piece.
Yeah, and we're playing with 3 central defenders
and 2 holding mids.
That should be able to just smash this whole type of play up. Yeah, the bread and butter type goals that you shouldn't be conceding are the ones that we're conceding, which didn't make sense in that whole play.
And the thing is, George, the Greek teams of old were, no matter who they were playing, even if they were playing the pinnacle or teams like Kosovo, if we went 1-0 up, we knew we weren't going to concede. We needed a sharp shot, maybe try and nick a second one, but the amount of chances that the opposing team would create would go down to more or less nothing.
Yeah.
And with this Greece team, even if we go a goal up, which is a surprise in itself, it's such a dangerous scoreline to be at for us, because we're so susceptible to conceding those kind of silly
8 goals scored, 8 goals conceded.
Yeah, 2 wins, 2 losses, 4 draws.
Yeah.
You cannot say that you drop points to Kosovo and Georgia and deserve to be at the World Cup, let alone hand an extension to JVS.
No,
the job. Yeah.
So
And we'll talk about that in a second, Michael.
One thing I'll say is,
speaking
of those goals that we are conceding, you guys are right. I think with JVS, we've conceded the most stupid goals. Yep. Do we agree? I think we've conceded the most stupid goals, the most frustrating. That should not be happening. I don't recall any stupid goal we considered under Skippy.
Anastasiadis
maybe one or two.
Yeah, I don't know about Anastasiadis. Let's just block that.
Forget that yellow, man. Forget that yellow.
No, well, I mean, my brain doesn't go that far, unfortunately, anymore. But
well, with Skip, we had our experienced defenders playing.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm sick of talking about that because people will think then obviously you got your agenda going there as well. Which leads us to, okay, so we had the draw. It was a meek draw. Now,
I think just before we get onto that, that was an important game for us for the FIFA rankings.
It was massively important.
And we stuffed up again.
Again,
So does that mean now, maybe Michael might answer this, we go to pot 4?
I believe so.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
We're
there
in
you go.
pot 4. That's
Pot
a
4.
disgrace.
Pot 4. How much lower can we go? Is this rock bottom or is there worse to come?
Oh, then I'm sure there's worse to come. Now, guys, I sat after the game. I thought I'm not gonna bother with anything here, but I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna watch the post-match press conference and just think about, just watch it 12 hours later, 10 hours later, whatever it is, and see what came from it. Everything you said was contradictory. We need our players to come back. We've got a lot of players that are injured and suspended. I want them to come back. I want to see competition within the squad so I can pick the team. But then I don't like making a lot of changes because I want continuity within the side. And then you've got journalists asking them about why we're playing Arawaka, which is just the dumbest question in the world. Like, you ask the coach why the EPO makes decisions. Like, what's wrong with you? But going back to his answers, and he said this quite a few, he repeated it often enough for him to mean what he's saying. How do we trust the coach that comes away from a meek, cowardly loss to Spain and a meek draw to Kosovo when he goes, I'm looking forward to the injured and suspended players coming back? Suspended, Bakasetas, injured, Mavropanos and Fortounis, even though he doesn't even play Fortounis.
That's what I was going to say.
Zeka as well.
Zeka, okay. But then also in the same breath saying, I don't like making changes. Now, I'm pretty certain I didn't mix that up when I watched it because I watched it long. He said it a few times. What are we doing? How does the EPO look at that? I'll go to you, Grecky. How does the EPO look at that and say, I think he's the right guy and I think we should extend him?
I think it's pretty hard to do that because even when he had all these players available, we didn't really produce much. We won 2 games in the group, one away to Georgia, which came at the end with a lucky penalty call.
Yep.
And the game against Sweden, where we played 30 minutes of football and looked good and got us the win. And then, before that, in the League of Nations, we had all the players available, and we couldn't beat Slovenia to top the group. So for me, it's a bit of all talk and just looking for something to sort of
again. It's not talk. How is it talk though? That's my question here. How is he? How are you selling yourself when you don't like change, but what you're doing isn't working either? So for me, it's just like, if I'm the boss, I'll be like, explain the malakia that you just said here and you repeated a few times in that press conference. Explain it to me so I can understand why I should even consider giving you an extension. Nick,
he's out of ideas.
He's out of ideas. Yeah, that's
the nail on the head.
He's out of ideas.
Straws.
Yeah, he's out of ideas, and he knows that this is his last job. Top line, anyway. Like, there's nothing after this for him at a high level, anyway. So it's very hard to understand how anyone could think that he should be kept on. I mean, look,
I'm worried they keep him.
I'll play the devil's advocate here, Nico. Why should we keep him? Nickel.
I wouldn't keep him.
Why? No. But why should we keep him?
The only things I can think of is because he's blooded in the younger players.
Has he?
No, that's right.
Has he? Because he says he has, but what? Picking him is
no, because Alexandropoulos and Zolis comes on here and there. Alexandropoulos doesn't get a minute.
Zolis is a once-in-a-generation player, and he's
barely gets on.
Zolis is a generational type player, and he's getting him play 20, 30 minutes. Tsimikas is another generational type player that Liverpool fans are salivating over him, and we're playing him as a centre-back.
George, after the Kosovo game, even then, Liverpool fans were still tweeting everything, saying, this guy is so good, he should start over Robertson. This is what I mean. The Ethnic League is wasting talent like this.
He was good. He was good.
So that's all down to the coach.
So, Michael, why should we keep him? Why should we keep JVS?
I don't think there's any other reason why. Nick just said it, is blooding in the youngsters.
But he's not.
But he's not using them. That's the problem. He's calling up Stafylidis. That's not how you move forward.
I'm worried that they do extend him.
I'm actually, one thing I'll say about Stafylidis, I'm actually very surprised he's not featured in this international break. He was not called up. He's still a pet.
He knows. I think JVS knew that I can't call him up because it's going to be my death sentence. I'm already on tenterhooks here, so I can't.
There's a host of problems that JVS has done throughout his tenure, and that is he's made some diabolical decisions especially with the lineups, his tactics, especially in games. We go earlier on with that 1-1 draw with Georgia, with Mavrias.
Yeah,
that is. It's still a pain to think about it. Yeah,
Greg.
But this game with Kosovo, the 1-1, I think it's summed up JVS as a coach.
Yes.
Greg.
Yeah.
You're JVS's manager. How do you go to the powers that be and put forward his
I'll tell you what I would be doing if I was them. I'd be going back to what they did at the start when JVS started, and I'd really be looking to go back to the 4-2-3-1, which I actually think worked quite well for us until, we were creating a fair amount of chances and we were playing nice flowing football. Why we went away from that, it was kind of like Limnios was his...
he was his go-to man.
It was his go-to man, and then he'll drop form. And then that just went out the window. Yeah. And then we were at 6s and 7s all the time. And then that was it. He went back with that 3-man defense, putting left backs there. But honestly, if there was my defense there, it'd be I'm going to look at what worked so well at the start of my tenure and work on that. But I really can't say that at all because he hasn't. He pulled Limnios in some, at the end of some games we were losing to. Maybe a miracle can happen, but you can see tactically he's not really top notch when it comes to tactics. His subs are very questionable, and the team mentality. I mean, it's also a player thing as well. But this team, geez, once things get a bit tough, boy, do they put their head down, and you can just see
Georgia, Sweden,
and then
Kosovo,
top that with poor tactics, and we're a lost cause after that.
So is it the players or is it the coach?
Look, it is a little bit of both. I still think with these players are particularly the mentality they seem to have when things get tough is pretty ordinary. But at the same time, we've got to face the fact that we've got a group at the moment that really lacks big match experience. And this is where, again, the whole thing with the 3 players that are not part of this group anymore, and, to some extent, even if that's Zivis, for example, we've lost a lot of experience. We've lost a lot of big match players with that. And, that game in Sweden where, we played that unbelievable first half and then just crippled with silly mistakes in the second half. That was, I think, down to, maybe some inexperience being at that stage. Some players not even, really having European football experience, let alone an international game like that. So that's from a player side of things, and from a people management side of things for JVS, that's cost us big time too. But it may help us in the future.
Do you think? Because they extend him, you pretty much know that those 3 are gone, right? And they're gone under him anyway. Do you think there's a flow-on effect because there's you got then the other rung of players that might be or those 3 or 4. Then you got guys like Fortunis that's coming back from a knee injury. Do you think he might say? Well, I'm saying like players.
He doesn't really pick. He doesn't really. He favours Pavlidis.
Well, what my question is that these younger guys are going to hang around because they've got their futures there, but you've got these older guys that can cut it. And we were talking about it. A good coach understands who he needs to put his arm around to give, a hug and tell him it's the best thing ever. Some players need that. Some players need to be ripped. Some players need their heads being ripped off to get motivated. So good coaches understand that. My concern is that if his contract is extended, then there's going to be a flow-on effect of players that are just going to say, I tap out, gone, I'm out. Again, we failed. We've done this before when Skibby didn't get us to the World Cup, and we extended his deal, and that ended in tears. So when you have a clear goal that you want to set and you don't achieve it, you fail? Yeah. Is it worth? Michael, is it worth?
I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
We've seen mistakes this whole campaign, and we're going to see the same mistakes again. The Nations League is starting in June next year. That's because the World Cup is starting in November. So, and that's 4 games in June. Just remember that. And if JVS was to get his contract extended, he's got to get that right on point in June. It's 4 games in June and within 2 weeks. And then you go on to September.
Greg.
All right, we said this, I don't know how many podcasts ago about JVS and if he goes or does he stay. And I remember practically saying if he learns from his mistakes, he's done enough things to potentially get us going forward. But at the end of the day, the guy just is not learning from his mistakes. We're saying the same thing over and over. We can't beat the Kosovos. We struggle to beat Georgia's. We crumbled against some of the bigger teams. So I think it's black and white. Nothing much is going to really change if he stays on. And
my concern is, okay, you keep him on, you give him a 12-month contract, or you give him a contract for up until the end of those 4 matches in June. But what happens if he comes in and he stuffs that all up? Then we've just stuffed up our Nations League as well.
They can't keep him. Skib, everyone was banging the door down to get rid of Skib back then.
Yeah.
Who took the team further.
Yeah, and
got
took
us a second and a playoff spot.
Yeah. So
no debate.
They can't. Look, we put the tweet out on our social pages. Should John Van Skip continue on as the ethnic Your Mother coach? 76% said no. Was that 671 people voted? Comments galore about why he shouldn't. That's a tiny, we're a tiny dot in the whole spectrum of fans in Greek football. But I think the general consensus has changed a lot from reading in the Greek media.
From these 2 games.
Exactly, because before this game, it was kind of like, look, it's more than likely he's going to stay on. And now, Nickel, go for it, man.
No, I think Michael got it spot on before where he said it sums JVS up. I think both games sum him up. Very cowardly. Like the 3 centre-backs, 2 holding mids, changing too late, no plan B, the plan A is poor. The mid, look, JVS is to blame. The players are also to blame. Like, you can't blame JVS for Duvikas missing that sitter.
No.
Suras missing the sitter. Or Belkas missing a very good chance. You can't blame him for that. But he sets the team up with formations. He picks the players.
Well, the formations are... Because the thing is, and here we are, and we talk about Masouras being offside. When you set up such a negative formation, we only have a handful of opportunities. And we get cut when we miss those opportunities, and we dwell on them.
But there's only 3 attacking players on the pitch.
Yeah.
He starts with sometimes. It's not enough. It's too... Look, also the other big one here to blame is, we're going to get onto them later, the EPO.
Well, yeah.
We'll get onto them.
Well, we will, because
I've been saying since 2014, they're to blame above any coach or player, though.
Well, they are. There's a massive issue there. Look, we put out a tweet just for comments just before the podcast, just 20 or so minutes before the podcast, just asking about... as we prepare for tonight's podcast, do you want JVS out? Who should replace him? Is it the EPO, the players, or the coach at fault? David 2095_sport, David Camarena. To be honest, I would like someone from Latin America to be the next Greek national team coach. I mean, who's a Latin American coach, guys, off the top of your head that you would have?
But τι θα προσφέρουμε εμείς? Like, what do we have to offer a top-line coach? There is no serious coach that will take this poison.
There's
I remember the last time we had a Latin American coach.
Yeah, Macarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Far out.
He was a hierro, man. Like, he had no business. Like, there was issues there. But like, there's plenty of Latin American coaches out there that would jump at the opportunity. Like, coaching the ethnic Omada wouldn't be a bad job. But it's just
there's
about
good ones in Europe too. But why would they take the job?
Having some Balis to actually have a go at it. Suvla _ Nice
I could do his one.
I'd love a Suvla right now.
It's been a long time since I've had a Suvla.
JVS out. In someone with a proven track record of being a manager at the top level, not a second-rate chump who couldn't even succeed in the A-League. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially it for me as well. That's a fair comment. You know, he hasn't had a successful coaching career anywhere he's gone. I think he won. Did he win the FFA Cup, Nick?
One FFA Cup.
Okay, but
that's the best team.
That's the only thing in his trophy cabinet.
They gave him like the team on a platter, the best team in the country on a platter, and all he won was the equivalent of the FA Cup, Steve.
Nah, not even because
no, but the knockout. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just
it's not the league, not the league. I'm trying to say.
So I don't know, Greg. Fair comment.
Yeah. Look, especially with look, there is. I mean, in terms of dangling a carrot for a top line coach, I mean, you got a decent. I know the experience. There's an experience factor that we're missing, but you bring some back of the experienced guys to help in that area. You got a fair bit of talent around to play with, and you know, at the start of JVS's tenure, he showed that we can play some good football. So I think there is something.
And this, like you said, this is where my brain went yesterday when we were discussing this. You bring those players back. You bring every single one of those players back, right? You're not going to bust up any team morale because the players will understand that. You know, any player with half a brain knows that they're better than the current guys in there, and they just have to cop it, right? As grown men, as footballers, as professionals, they understand that, and they failed for the ethnic year in this current climate, given the opportunity, so they can't whinge about it. They won't. But you bring those players in, right, with their egos, with their baggage, with all the malakias that comes with them, right? But you get a good coach. Now, I said this the other day. Someone like Andrea Pirlo, right? He had one season as Juventus coach. Well, I don't even know what happened there. They sacked him or they moved him on because they didn't win the league. Couldn't care less. He's a deep thinker. He's got a great personality. He's respected throughout the world. I don't look at the guy and think he wants to be a top-line coach, like a coach that just goes through the ringer week in, week out, day in, day out. He looks like the type that wants to sit back in Mykonos and have a glass of wine. But I also think that when he's on, he's on.
That would be a phenomenal appointment.
And someone like him would be like, he would grab the Kostas Manolases of the world and say to him, listen, man, you're a fucking great footballer. Hestika what you do in Mykonos. Hestika what you do. I couldn't give a shit what you do. But when you're with me, you're going to do what I say. And guys like Manolas are going to respect that.
No, exactly. They'll buy in. Every single one of them will buy in because he's got the name and he commands the respect.
Yeah. Now, my worry here is that we get an Ampalo like Gattuso coming into our team. He won't get the respect because the guy's a failure.
Realistically, if JVS goes, it's going to be some flop that comes. It's going to be some no-name that replaces him.
That's what I'm worried about.
Guys, Greg, are you buying into Pirlo? You're an Italian football man. Can we get him? Am I dreaming?
Look, I think it's a long shot, but you never know. Maybe whether he'd want it. The experience he has, he's going to jump into the ethnic is another question. But
across the road it
makes
from
sense
Italy,
given the position we're in. I think I know Valvades has been mentioned here and there in the Greek media, so I think that would be a pretty good appointment.
He'd be a great appointment too, Valverde. Yeah. I mean, he's got the runs on the board as a coach. Moving on, just another comment here. And here's a side one from Nick_Kalafakis, our West Ham man. Are the fans just expecting too much from little old Greece? Stephen, you're a young guy.
Yeah.
Well,
just about.
Are we expecting too much?
I don't think so. I mean, what's the expectation? The expectation is to qualify for major tournaments.
Yeah.
It's not to go and win them.
Yeah.
To win a major tournament for Greece is a miracle, and that's what has already happened.
We've done it.
So if we really, we've done it.
I think realistically.
Sorry, Nico. I keep saying to my mates, we don't need to win one now. We've done it. You guys, England need to win a European Championship. We
in your lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's equally frustrating when you're seeing teams that you would put on a similar level to Greece on paper, maybe not even on paper, just in terms of an international level, and they're reaching those major tournaments, and even the teams below what we would consider Greece's level are even sort of competing for those playoff places now.
Yep.
And it's ironic, really, that Greece is struggling to qualify. And scoring for fun as well. They're playing decent football. They're playing. No. They're playing expansive football.
I'll bleep you.
But it's ironic that Greece are struggling to qualify for major tournaments when it's actually become easier for teams to qualify for
these competitions. Yes, that's the sad thing.
Third in this group, though, it was more realistic. Let's face it. It's the way we've done it. It's the way. We didn't even put up a fight. That's the frustrating.
It was meek, yes. Greg, are we expecting too much?
I don't think so. I mean, we want to see a team, a starting 11 that actually makes sense. We want to see our best players playing and having a decent chance and playing some good football.
Yeah.
I think that's too much, and it's not too much to ask for.
Yeah.
You look at, George, all these other countries, like Switzerland, top their group. It wasn't too long ago, the average person would say, Greece is better than them. Greece would beat them.
Belgium.
Croatia.
Belgium and world number one.
We were beating Croatia in the groups.
Nick,
finishing
10 years ago, we beat Croatia 10 years.
Yeah.
Was it? Oh, no.
Yeah.
It was around 10 years ago.
You're right.
To Euro 2012, yeah.
That's right. Even in the major tournaments, they're more going further than them.
Yeah.
Belgium, as George said, the list is endless.
Yeah, so no, I'm with you guys. I don't think
Ukraine, Austria, all of them.
There's going to be a World Cup with 48 teams.
The next one, I think.
The next one, 2026. God help us. God help us. It worries me. Anyway, let's move on from there. Stephen, Stratos H9, what do you guys think of the current generation of players? Their lack of ability just doesn't cut it on the international stage. Stephen, our resident Manly Warringah Eels fan.
I think what I do? I split it in two. You got the kind of older players that are the failures, the failed generation, as I call them. Then you got the younger players who they get a bit more of a pass mark.
Yeah, Michael. I mean, I don't know. What do you think of the current generation, players?
I think they're fine.
Do you think they give
the players that were from the under 21s back in 2012, like Bacacetas?
Forget them.
Their ones for me have failed.
They're not current generation.
But you look at the ones today.
They are, George. They're at their peak.
The ones today, the ones that we see today under Simos and under 19s as well, they're our hope today.
Yeah.
We got Koutsias Kostandelias from PAOK, Soulis from Olympiacos.
Yeah.
They're our hope. So
Greg,
I think it's fine. It just comes down to the coaching.
Well, I mean, okay, if I think of the current generation of players, you're right, Nick. Well, they are. It's the Bacasetases of the world who are the current generation.
If you think about it, they would have been 20, 21, 22 at the 2014 World Cup.
Yep.
Then you're 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
Yeah.
They've had that time in between, and we've made no major tournaments with them at their peak.
Yeah, well, that's true. So I can't argue with you there, boys. Steve, Greg, want to add to that?
Tsimikas is younger, don't forget. Those guys are younger.
Yeah, they're the up. He's probably the oldest of the next generation.
Yeah.
Him and Vrusai and
Rutsos. Odysseas Vlachodimos as a keeper as well gets longer.
Yeah, keepers have a long career, so yeah.
And also, he didn't necessarily go through the Greek youth ranks.
No, he went
through. He went to Germany, which is much more organised. Hence why
can he speak Greek? I've never heard him speak.
I don't know.
He must, yeah.
He can, yeah.
I'd be confident, yeah.
He can. Yeah.
He lived there for years.
Yeah, so did his brother Panayoti, but you know.
I think for me, what I take away from this, George, is not the ability. There are players in this team that have ability, but it's the experience that they lack. They lack the experience to take it to that next level. And reach top two in a group, reach the playoffs.
There we say, Stephen, it's exactly what, and Greg will attest to this, it's exactly what Silvas said that got him removed from the squad.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's another irony because the last time he beat Kosovo, he was part of the team and he scored the goal.
Scored the winner.
And ever since we got rid of him, we haven't beaten Kosovo in our last 3 games.
Yep. Last comment here from Nikos Kos, Nikos_Kos1. Any news of the Ethniki playing out of Oaxaca? But I think they got more problems now that's come out, unfortunately for them in the media.
Burglary. The burglary. Yeah, didn't they get robbed? Like 10,000 euro copper?
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, someone went and stole the pipes.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Inside job, boys, or what? you reckon? You reckon Panayotti just dropped the key and said, "Hey, boys, there's a key over there. I'm going for a walk."
The lunatics run the asylum.
Oh, Jesus Christ there, fellas. I don't even know what to think about that stuff anymore. I'll just quickly look on. Yeah, that was it there. Rounding it off, quick one word, Greg. What do we do next?
I think we look for new solutions because this recipe is not working.
Yes. How soon would you want it done? Do we recommend
very
that
soon.
off?
We do. We got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. Last words, boys. Stephen, what do we do? Yeah, I agree with Greg. Anything else you want to add to it?
Change in some capacity.
Yeah.
Whether that be in Ebo or whether that be the manager.
The technical directors.
Whether that be, anyone that individuals may feel like they need to have a changeover, maybe even players. We've already said a million times about which players, quote unquote, should be in the team. So there just needs to be change all around for me.
Greg, or one of you boys, or Michael, who's the technical director again? Konstantinidis. Yeah. Okay, is his time up?
No.
He was actually asked if. Funny thing you say that because he was asked if JBS will remain, and he had a pretty perplexed look on his face when he was answering that. So I think he's pushing for change, in my opinion.
Yeah, actually, no, you're right. He did, And his comments were like, I'm not here to give my personal opinion or something like that, because it's the board has to make a decision. You're not going to get anything. You're not going to get my opinion out. So I mean, it was
which for me
like
says he wants change.
That answers your question, because if he didn't want change, he'd be like, no, we should keep him. He's a great coach. Hideo is a great coach. Guys, let's move on from that, and hopefully we'll have some good news
by Thursday.
Which
that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, which means probably Thursday in January, in Greek football terms. Because
Thursday on the coach.
Thursday, they're going to have a meeting this Thursday.
Okay.
Is that like when they have those Super League meetings to figure out when they're going to start the season? They get postponed?
What they'll do is they'll have a meeting to discuss when they have the meeting, and then they'll have a meeting before that to have another meeting.
Which leads me into this: does the EPO even have an office? Will the locks be changed? Now, if anyone hasn't heard the news or the tweet that we put out today, UEFA are looking at getting involved in Greek football once again. Complaints of threats of violence, corruption. The EPO has a €1 million outstanding bill on their office, which they've asked the government to pay. Financial mismanagement in handing out the licenses to clubs. There's a list as long as my arm, and
just keep it for the expose episode.
The EPO mess. Greg, what do you like? You're the one that brought this one to our attention. This is just rehashed stuff, isn't it? Like, what the hell's going on?
What the hell's going on? And, we sit there and can't believe what's happening with Super League 2 and the Gama Ethniki, and you can see why the people that are in charge are just complete buffoons. They really don't know. It's pure self-interest. The fact that they gave 10 Super League 2 licenses out without doing the proper checks, and we still had such a delay in Super League 2, which is just disgraceful for the Greek football that the second division has only just started now. And, you know, there are also intimidating people that Zagorakis was, when he started looking to sort of say things and clean things up, he was immediately threatened. And, there's talks of mafia-style standovers and things. I've been following Greek football for many, many years, and this is by far and away. And this is the whole time the Greek Football Federation has received criticism, and at times in the past I thought, okay, they haven't been great, but some of the criticism was harsh. But the current EPO for the last probably 5-6 years, man, they have been an absolute disgrace, and we need something to happen because these guys are really holding back our game.
Spot on. Well said, Greg. We're the same age. I think I'm a few months older than you. And even at the height of fans losing their shit over corruption and everything, 15, 20 years ago with the league and the way things were run, I think the last 5, 6, 7 years, the way things have been run at the top is disgraceful. And people should be, we're getting tweets saying there's no point unless you jail these people. Now, let's be frank, the Greek courts aren't going to jail these people, but I think UEFA needs to, they're another mess in themselves, UEFA, but I think that if they don't act hard, then what are we doing? Because it's just a cyclical thing. UEFA coming in and saying, you need to do these changes. Everyone that's on that gravy train that's just been milking the system without putting €1 back into the game are just going to nod their head. And then when UEFA leave, they're just going to start tapping into it again. Change needs to happen, but the change needs to be you need to eradicate these people and ban them for life. Something needs to happen.
How many times have we seen UEFA, they say they're going to step in, but they haven't?
They do step in, but they step in and kind of just put Band-Aids on and then walk away. Because
that's not action.
That's not action, no. That's the thing. I said it in a tweet, and it was a bit harsh saying, the only way, but the reality is the only way to create action is to physically say, you know what, bang, the gravy train, the funds are cut, you're banned from UEFA competitions, you need to get your shit sorted. And show us how you're going to get this sorted. Clean out all your debts. If UEFA comes in, because UEFA funds us, UEFA should come in, clear the debts, kick EPO out of their offices, put them in the green building outside of Leoforos, put them anywhere. They don't need an office. There's too many clowns in there. They don't need an office. But they need to something needs to give. Is it being too harsh, Nick, or me saying, that's it, no. UEFA should cut them for 12, 24 months?
No, a lot of people have been saying this for many years, that Greece needs a ban. Give us time in the wilderness to sort all this shit out, and then we'll go back when we're serious.
It's harsh. Greg, am I being too harsh? You're an old school fan. Is that too harsh? Not obviously. I don't want to see them banned, but how do we fix it?
Look, if that's the fix, then we probably have to do it and come out of a completely more organized organization we're gonna benefit for it, tomorrow. So it's something that desperately needs to happen. Otherwise, under this current regime, we're going to keep seeing second divisions, even the Super League delayed, and the silly delays and TV deals are in a mess and all that. We can't continue like this.
You can't, yeah. The league's starting and then they're just compressing all the games. It's a clown show. We put the tweet out, and even Pakistan footballing people were commenting on ours, and it's just like the news is obviously going far and wide, and they're saying that the mess we're in, and it's like, how do you fix this? It's not good. And
well, George, when it comes to the corruption in Greek football, that'll go a whole lot further than the actual football in Greek football, unfortunately, especially in the UK as well.
The way I see it is that there are a lot of people with a lot of vested interest in the game, not good people, that aren't going to walk away without a fight, a huge fight, a gunfight, so to speak. Like we hear about, people getting bashed and all that during soccer, man. When there's refereeing incidents and all that kind of stuff. So when you're potentially going to come in and grab a whole heap of people that are, you know, the puppet masters of the game, and you're going to eliminate them. They're not going away without a fight. They've made too much money out of the game, and they're still making money out of the game. So they're not going to just say, well, you know, let the good times roll. We've had our time. Let's just cut it and let the game flourish.
The Zagorakis thing, that's the thing I took away from that.
Well, yeah, because that's the first time. That's the first time it's actually come out.
Yeah, that was my main takeaway from it all. Not even more so than the unpaid rent.
Yeah, no, that was the first thing. And once again, if you guys missed that, Zagorakis wanted to put his stamp on it and call out all the corruption in the Greek game, and him and his family were threatened. So he abruptly quit, and
we hinted it back then. If you recall, I think you may have asked me, can change happen or something about the players, and we both said it's the system that's holding us back, and this is what we meant by the system.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that's for sure. There, actually, guys, Nico Celtics sent us a DM a couple of days ago, and I didn't want to just remembered now. So Nico.Celtics at Nico Leon. He's good, you know, he always listens to us, so sorry, I thought I was going to miss this. Hey guys, hope all is good. In case I miss it, the blah, blah, blah in the queue, can I write this in advance? Completely miscellaneous, but when was the last time we have saved a penalty for the ethnic Omada? I honestly can't remember, and it stretches all the way back to our penalty shootout in 2004. When was the last time we saved the penalty?
I'll tell you what, against Bosnia away, the keeper, I think it was Garnezis, saved it, and then they scored but then they scored.
I think you're right, Nico. Yeah.
So if you count that as a save, I mean, he saved it, but they scored a second later.
Well, the goal doesn't go down as a penalty, so yeah, we did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Technically, yeah.
Technically. Greg, does that, anything?
If I had known beforehand of this question, I might have looked it up.
It just literally popped into my head.
Nothing's come into mind. I do have a stat though that I did want to along those lines. Can you guys guess in the last 7 years how many times we've scored 3 goals or more?
Twice.
Against Gibraltar.
3, I would guess.
Against Gibraltar.
Are we talking
All matches?
All matches.
I'm going to say twice.
3 or 4.
Twice, Greg.
Nick's right. 4. And 2 of those were against Gibraltar. The rest have been 1 or 2 goals or 0. That's pretty incredible.
Guys, we conceded against Gibraltar, didn't we?
Yes.
4-1.
We went down. We were losing. We were trailing.
Yes, that's right. And Fortunis ended up pulling the rabbit out of the hat. Yeah. Well, okay, there you go. There you go. And you're seeing these nations getting pumped 10-0, and we're champions.
San Marino.
Yes. And we're happy to win.
You've got other countries that you said we won't name, and they're scoring goals for fun against teams that we couldn't score 1 or 2 against.
Disgusting, isn't it? Disgusting on our part. I couldn't give a shit about them. You know, all the power thing. Disgusting on our part.
Well,
you know. I think
you can always be Cyprus. You can always be Cyprus.
Well, the only way is up, Steve. I don't know if both nations have actually hit rock bottom.
No,
which is a sad part.
No, they haven't.
All right, guys. Look, enough of that. We'll finish off on a high note here. Super League coming up. Something to get our heads off the national team and go back to clubland. The round, as we see it here, so coming up on the weekend, Volos host Office. That'll be an interesting game. Aris Pasianina, Ionikos Asteras, Panetolikos Apollon, Greg, Stephen, AEK Olympiakos. How are you seeing this one, boys?
Massive game.
Greg.
As always.
The Apollon game before the international break really hurt us. Again, I'm worried about our defense, but I'm hoping Olympiakos hasn't been crash hot either. So I'm hoping we come out firing and Olympiakos has a bit of a slow start. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting game. It's going to be, again, another big test for our defense, which is just crap at the moment. So I'm hoping the Olympiacos strikers are a bit off. And if that happens, there is a possibility. We've got plenty of goals in us, but we've also got a defense that concedes quite easily. And against Olympiacos, there's no bigger test.
Mitoglu suspended? No, is he back?
No, I'm pretty sure he's.
He copped the red. Was it the last match or the match before?
George, in Greece they choose matches.
You can choose,
Matches, yeah.
he'll probably play.
That's true. Yeah, another Malakia.
That's right.
That's right.
It's like, out there, take the weekend off.
Oh, well, Olympiacos is next. No, I'd rather miss the game against Lamia.
Yeah.
Jokers. Anyway.
And I think with us, George, we've got a couple of injuries. I think Socrates might be injured. I mean,
yeah, he came off.
It changes every time I read a different article. It's everyone is. I think Gary Rodriguez might not be fit. Yeah, I mean, it's.
Is it just me? Is it just me, boys, or when I hear the name Gary Rodriguez, I think of like the YMCA or something. I don't know. It's just I don't know. I think of Police Academy. I think of the Blue Oyster Bar. When I think Gary,
George. That's classic.
It's just one of those names. It makes you want to dance, but you know.
And also, George, on another note, Ruben Semedo's back in full
He's back
training.
in training, yes.
He won't start. I mean, he might start.
He's prone to a mistake or two, so I don't mind if he starts.
Oh, he's by far our best defender.
Yeah, that's the thing. But also, it looks like, I mean, there's been polarizing articles coming out of he's either staying and being part of the team for the rest of the season, or
Porto want him, Benfica wanted him, George Jesus want him, but I think they're not willing to offer more than 5 million. So the club is like, well, if you're going to offer us that, we might as well keep him. Look, I think we should. I think it works in our favour if we keep him because he'll have something to prove, even though he's a malaka for what he's doing off the field. He should just focus on what and
if he focuses, he's one of the most talented defenders we've got.
Best defender in the league if he's on his game. So if he's focusing, so I think keep him and then just think about what's going to happen in the off season. He owes it to us. Then just come back and just finish off the season strong and put your best foot forward because we need him back. The style of play that Martins wants the team to play suits him down to a T, and no other defender that we've got is capable of playing it that way. So, but every other one can suit his style, and obviously it'll be Semedo and Socrates. But we shall see. Moving on, Atromitos PAOK. That's going to be an interesting match. Atromitos are just down in the dumps and just can't even get themselves out of that. So we'll see what they're going to do after this break and if they've can re-establish themselves. Last but not least, Nico, your boys head over to Lamia, Panathinaikos. How do you think that's going to go?
Oh, jeez, our bogey side, our eternal bogey side. Just when you thought, oh, how good the international break's over, you got this.
But what's injury suspension or injury wise?
Well, Schenkerveld played over the weekend for the B team
and got injured.
I don't know if he
didn't he?
I didn't know that.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, I didn't hear. We lost to Ike B team.
Yes.
Yeah, 2-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we'll see. Any news on Kurbelis? No. Getting another tattoo probably. Yeah. I don't know why I said that. I don't know if he's getting more tattoos, but I'm sure he is.
Probably.
Super League 2, for you, Michael, Olympiacos B host your boys, Larissa. That'll be an interesting match to see where you guys are at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got, just so you know, George, most of our squad is Greek, so that's a good thing. But still, anything blows up.
Might come up against Binagas, Michael.
If he's playing.
If he's playing.
Yeah, if he's playing.
Yeah.
1.5 million and you sit on the bench for the B team.
Yeah, there you go. It was one of those, we'll look after you boys type of deal. It was Panionios needed the cash once upon a time. We used to look after him. Now
the thing is, George, we never had financial problems when we got back up. Not even when we got down. It's just excuses from Kurias.
Yeah, but you know what he's like. He wants to rub shoulders. He wants to rub shoulders with the top echelon, so he does these type of things. I personally think. Anyway, dinner coming with me. Guys, I think that's it, eh?
Well, in just under 5 hours, George.
Yes.
Got the under-21s against Iceland.
They've had a good start to their campaign. Well, had a good win the other, so let's hopefully they can do something different for us. And,
I just hope nothing turns out like the previous game against Iceland, because I happened to watch that one. It was 1-1. I just hope Tsolakis has his gloves on. because I remember that draw with Iceland.
Yeah.
The ball went through his hands. It was like a long shot from out of nowhere. I don't know where he took it, the player, and just went through the hands of Sorakis.
Actually, so as what? Yep, go on. Sorry.
Oh no, you just expect any keeper to save it, but yeah, the inexperience comes in.
Yeah,
but I'm sure Sorakis learns from it. That's all.
Look, he's I'm sure he will. Simos is doing some good things with that side, so I'd even have him for the Ethnic Omada, the senior team. Just going back to Super League 2, Iraklis host Bulk. That's going to be a nice match. That hasn't happened for a while. So
Cheeky derby, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be something nice there. Let's just look. AEK, Karaskakis, nothing really happening in the South Division. Khanyar, all those. Yeah, anyway. Guys, if you like listening to what we do, please give us a 5-star review. If you listen to us on Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or Tilene, boost us up. We love your feedback. We love your comments. We love everything that you guys do. We love doing this podcast. So thank you for listening. I hope we covered all the topics. If you have anything you need to say, shoot us a DM, shoot us a message, shoot us a comment, an email. The podcast also goes up on YouTube weekly. It didn't go up last week on YouTube for technical difficulties, unfortunately, but we should have it back up this week. Gentlemen, nice speaking to you. And we'll do it all again next week. See you later.